Adeolu-Adewumi-Zer SCALE Masterclass. Happy to see everyone here. Looking forward to exchanging with you, hearing your comments, hearing your reactions. And please feel free wherever you are, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on YouTube, please feel free as we go through the session to drop your comments, to drop your questions. We will have a session at the end for more specific discussion. But as we're kicking off, just wondering, what do you do? What do you do? How long have you been doing it? And how many people on your team? I know that was sort of what we did as part of the quick survey when you registered for this course. But it would be great to hear again and to see again and to understand who is with us today. So if we move to the first slide, again, I want to welcome you to our very first SCALE Masterclass. If we could go through the agenda slide. You are the pioneers. This is the first time that we're hosting a masterclass like this, really introducing the framework from our book. Again, if we can move to the agenda slide, moving the so this is today's agenda for today. So we want to introduce you to the SCALE framework. For those of you who have read the book, you would be very familiar, Afro-optimism Unleashed, you'd be very familiar with the SCALE framework and have gone through it on your own. If you don't have the book, and you hopefully have gone also through the SCALE Your Business scorecard, and so you have the results of that. And so I would suggest that you have your book ready, your scorecard results ready, and feel free to start dropping testimonials if you've read the book. We'd love to hear your comments and your feedback, whether it's positive or you want to challenge us in some way. And also feel free to drop your scores if you have your scores in front of you. It'd be good to hear to see what kind of scores our audience has with us today. And if you don't have a copy of the book, I'd encourage you to drop the PDF in the comment box, and then we can indeed make sure that we get a PDF copy of the book to you after the session, or a link to the scorecard, and we will be dropping a link to the scorecard as we go through the session. So if we could drop a link to the scorecard right now, and as we're doing that, as I mentioned at the end, there will be a discussion. We want to reserve 15 to 20 minutes for the discussion, but don't do that. Already start dropping your comments, dropping your questions. We will try to take those questions throughout the session. So, and then we will close the session with what next, because of course, we're not here just to learn, we're here to learn how to execute as well. And so indeed, we do want to understand what next. So if we move to the next slide, at Zer, Wednesdays is for education, not just educating ourselves, but educating the market, whether it's via our posts on social media or sessions like today, where we want to hold every other Wednesday, so twice a month, an hour with you so that you have time to deep dive with us on these topics. And you can also pose the questions that you have about your particular organization. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. We're about to empower you as business leaders, share the knowledge that we've picked up over the decades that we've been working, to share tools, exchange on frameworks, and to really upscale from all sides. So it doesn't need to be one way. Also very happy to hear experiences from your side as to what you're seeing, what you're struggling with, and what you want to learn from others. Because at the end of the day, we want to build resilient, scalable businesses. But this is not a sales meeting. Like I said, this is about learning. This is about exchanging. We will offer something and a couple things throughout the session, but these are all freebies. These are all complimentary gifts from our side. So it'd be interesting to know who's here with us today. If you're a business leader, drop business leader in the comment box. If you're a small business owner, if you're a founder, if you're a CEO, let's hear. Are you a leader? Are you a CEO? Are you a founder? are you a small business owner? And if we move into the next slide, if you are a CEO, if you are a founder, if you're a business leader, I've been in your shoes. As you can see from, I am a founder. I founded Zer Consultant Africa just under 2 years ago. And I've been a CEO, and I am a CEO since 2020. So led a Nigerian organization, subsidiary of a global multinational since 2020, before leaving to start my own venture. And before that, ran for that same company, ran mergers and acquisitions for that global group across Africa, based out of Nairobi. So I've invested on the East Coast, I've invested on the West Coast, and I invested across Africa. And very literally, I wrote the book. I've written the book, as I've shown you before, Afro-Optimism Unleashed, on how to scale your business on our continent. There's a lot of great books out there around building businesses, around building your leadership skills, but not so many books focus on our part of the world. So that's why we've written this book. We've developed within the book and shared our proprietary SCALE framework, which we will go through today, and which you will get more detail on in the book. And last but definitely not least is the fact that despite the accent, the Western accent, I'm very much an African. I consider myself an Afro-optimist. That's a very key piece of my personal brand. And so I want to share that Afro-optimism with you today. So as I mentioned, when we go to the next slide, the registration process included a quick survey, and we have some of the results of this survey today. So there are 4 questions, and we pulled out 2 of those questions. And one of those questions was, which scale topic do you most want to address in our masterclass? We only have 60 minutes. We don't have time within 60 minutes to deep dive on 5 different topics. So in each session, we'll listen to you and find out from the audience and from the expected participants, what is it that you want to learn about? This time it was about strategizing your vision. So today, indeed, we will still go through all the 5 pillars, but we will deep dive on the strategy pillar. And then the second question is, what do you hope to gain from our masterclass? And a large majority said that you wanted practical tips. And indeed, we will include practical tips on 4 of those pillars. But on the one pillar where a majority of you said you like even more information, that's where we want to take that step by step and take you through that process. Of course, we still want to give you an opportunity for feedback and for questions at the end. To allow you to exchange on your own business. I see Tano here, who's running a firm called Kadakeo, has been doing this for 23 years. It's just himself, so we look forward to hearing what Tano might have to share with us later. And again, we'll be dropping the scorecard link if you didn't have a chance to be able to create your own scores, to rate your business on the Scale Your Business scorecard. Then this would be the moment to just quickly, it takes just a couple minutes, it's 25 yes or no questions, so that you quickly have your score, and that will be very helpful as we go through the session. So great. So we want to introduce the SCALE framework, SCALE. And so someone just the other day told me, I just love frameworks. And I think the reason that people love frameworks is because it's so difficult to remember things. We're just flooded with information every day. I know with my 48 years, I can't remember 1,000,001 things on top of being a mom and being a wife and being a daughter. So this is why we build frameworks to give us a reference and an easy way to remember things, because really we need to build structure. We can't build forward-looking businesses if we're looking at yesterday's structures. So how do we? What's the new structure that we can build now in 2025 so that we can turn our business visions into reality? And that's what we'll take you through today. So if we go to the next slide, I'd love to hear for those of us who have taken our Scale Your Business scorecard, uh, where did you score the highest? There are 5 pillars. You might not have noticed that as you were going through the 25 yes or no questions. But at the end, you would have received an assessment from the quiz, and it would have rated you in each of the 5 areas and even given you an overall score. So just drop in the chat, where is it that you scored the highest? Where did you score the lowest? And for those of you who scored highest in the strategy session, well, that's what we'll touch on today. So we're happy to receive your bits of wisdom as well. So let's take us through the SCALE framework. So the first one is S, strategize your vision. And again, this is just high level. We'll deep dive into this piece in just a bit and give you just some tips on the others as well. Next one is C, which is champion excellence. And one of the things you'll notice as you flip through the book is this is very much the chapters of the book, which you probably won't see if I hold it up here, but really it's chapters 3 to 8 through the book. So you would see the same thing as you're reading Afro-Optimism Unleashed. Next one is A, which is accelerate exceptional leadership. We have different views about leadership and see different examples of leadership on the ground here in Africa. And here we're talking about exceptional leadership. Next one is L. So here we leverage governance for sustainable growth. I know when many people hear governance, it's sort of grown. Are we talking about this topic again? But as we will see later, it's really a critical topic when we're building sustainable businesses. And the last is expanding your impact via growth capital, and we'll cover that as well. So again, just drop in the chat where on the SCALE, strategize, champion, accelerate, leverage, expand, where did you score the highest? Where did you score the lowest? Was there one that you didn't even understand? So as we go through the topics today, you'd want to understand it a bit better. Maybe there's some ways we can help to clarify that particular pillar. And perhaps you even thought we were missing something in your experience as business owners, in your experience as leaders, in your experience as CEOs. There's not just one area of experience. We're coming with our knowledge, but we're here to share as well. So let's step through the strategic. So here we have on a high level, strategize your vision. On the next slide, we'll actually step by step through the process. And this is the actual process that we take our clients through. Same process that we've laid out in the book, same process that we'll discuss here, same roadmap that our clients go through. So for those of you who are maybe still children at heart or have children at home, you might remember Alice in Wonderland, which was a very popular book back in its day, and it still is quite a legacy with children even today in 2025. And there was a moment when Alice, who is the main character, meets another key character called Cheshire the Cat, and was asking Cheshire the Cat for directions. And so she was asking him, which way should I go? And he asked, well, where are you headed? And her response was, well, I don't know where I'm headed. So he was pretty much like, well, if you don't know where you're headed, that doesn't really matter which way you go. And so that has sort of been summarized into a business understanding that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So when we're thinking about vision for our lives and when we're thinking about visions for our business, just let's think about why is direction important. So I'd like to hear from you why you think direction is important, even hearing a quick example from Alice in Wonderland or building on your own experiences. Because where are you going? Where am I going? Where are we going? Until you can answer that question, then you can't say whether any route is better than the other. I think we need to mute all the mics, please. So, but once you understand the direction that you're going, then you can figure out different routes to go get there, right? So if you're moving from point A to point B, we've all heard in school that the fastest line between 2 points is a straight line, right? But it doesn't mean that fastest is the best way. So you can go wiggly, you can go up and down, you can go zigzag. But the point is that you know that you're here and you're trying to get there. And so because you know that, that will help you to figure out your path to get there. But if you don't know when you're here, where you're trying to go, then it really doesn't matter. You can just start walking and it doesn't really matter where you end up. So that's really when we're talking about strategizing your vision, that's what we're talking to you about. And that's what we ask our clients to think about. So that's very sort of nebulous. But then we also have a process map to make it much more concrete for our clients. And that's what we can see on the next slide. So once we go through it, you'll see the actual process map that we use. It's a 5-step process. We started with the first one when we look at assessment and visioning. And so that's looking at internally and externally. So what is the situation within your company? Where are the gaps? And that can be quite an intense process when you have to really reflect on yourself, even as a leader, yourself as a company, and understand, okay, where are our weaknesses, where are our gaps, but also where are we strong, where do we have competencies, where do we have the capabilities and the resources to do even better than we're doing today. So that's the internal piece. But then we don't live in vacuums. We don't build businesses in vacuums. So we also have to look at the external market. We have to analyze the industry landscape. So if we're located in one country, in one area of that country, this is what we're looking at, or this is our starting point. But of course, when we're talking about growing and scaling, we also want to understand even wider from that really core market. And then look at, so I think many of you, if we're experienced business people, have heard of SWOT. And so looking at the opportunities and threats of the SWOT model. So strengths and weaknesses being the internal piece, opportunities and threats being the external. And at the end of the day, what we want as an outcome is a shared vision. So that means that we all understand as a company, as an organization, which way we want to go, right? Where we want to end up. And then once we've understood and buy into where we want to end up, then we can build a sort of mission statement around that. So vision versus mission versus purpose. These are all topics that, in terms that people throw out, and it can be very confusing. But what you can remember is that vision is about the what, the mission is at the how. So what do you want to become? The mission is then how do you want to become that? And at Zer, we've taken it even further and to talk about our purpose and our vision, etc. And we'll see that later. So second step is around goal setting and strategic objectives. And so this is where, okay, now we know where we're headed. And then we think about, okay, what is the path to get there? Okay, so anyone who's worked even a year in the corporate world would have heard of SMART goals. And those stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So the same way that we build SMART goals from a personal development standpoint, we need to build similar goals from an organizational standpoint so that, what gets measured gets done, right? So it's nice to say you want to do something, but if you don't have a way to assess your progress, not perfection, your progress to get there, then it's very difficult to understand whether you're really on the right journey or not. So at the end of the day, the outcome would be specific KPIs to really track that progress, because it's a journey, right? It's not a destination. Just like life is a journey, not a destination. So it's can be very motivating. As humans, we need motivation to actually be able to see our progress, even on a daily, weekly, basis so that we understand that we're going in the right direction as a company. And then the next step is around strategy development and execution planning. So now you've set out your action plan, but then how do you figure out how to actually execute? So one of the things that consultants get bashed on the head all the time is that we deliver nice presentations and PowerPoints, very pretty pictures, and then we run off before the execution. The hard work actually begins, which is actually execution. So and so this is where we work with our clients, and where you would need to focus as an organization on really setting up a very rigorous way to execute and to manage that execution. Uh, it's the tough piece, right? So yes, the strategic visioning can seem very difficult, but once you're at the end, you, like I said, you have a nice document which you can go on a desk and not do you any good. So this is a really critical piece to make sure that you actually move along the path. So then we move to our next step, which is about buy-in. So in any part of your world, whether it's be personal, professional, there are people who are interested in what you're doing, and those are stakeholders. So how do you make sure that your stakeholders are all on the same page? And your stakeholder as a company are both internal and external. So they'll be your employees, they'll be your leadership, they'll be your board, there'll be possibly investors, there'll be your customers and clients, there'll be the community and the market at large. So that's a key piece of actually making sure that the plan that you put into place can actually be executed, is to make sure that you have buy-in from your various stakeholders. And then the last piece is then communicating to those same stakeholders. We talk about culture eating strategy for breakfast. As a very famous quote from Peter Drucker, the late Peter Drucker, who was a very well-known, is a very well-known strategy and management consultant. And this is a quote that is used very often. And we'll touch on that again on a later slide. So here's the full process. What we usually recommend for larger companies, it usually probably takes a month per step. So 5 steps, 5 months to get through this process, and usually done on well, it used to be every 3 years, but now I think the world is getting faster. So some companies are even doing this every year, or even more often. Smaller companies probably have to even do it more often. But the good thing about for smaller companies, it usually doesn't take 5 months to get through this process. You have less bureaucracy to get through. But you need to make sure that you have the right resources on board. This is a whole company exercise. Can even bring in consultants at times, depending on the depth of the exercise and experience that you have. Data analytics is a very key piece of making sure that you get on the right path. And of course, technology needs to be embedded into all of this. So I know that was relatively quick. It was a step-by-step process. I mean, this is, as I said, is a process that takes 5 months that we probably just did in 10 minutes. So happy to start to see from you, what are the key takeaways you take from this process? What questions do you still have after going through this? Maybe what were your aha moments, and I'll try to take those as I see them pop up on the screen. So now we have our strategy. Who's going to implement the strategy? It's still not AI, it's people. So this is where we talk about people, and in the next 2 slides we actually do talk about people. So the first piece is about championing your excellence, and so here we get again about culture, and again harping on the idea that strategy eats culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So your strategy, really nice, but if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right culture that is going to be able to implement this strategy, and that's what we've seen with 1 or 2 of our clients, that we spent time with them, quite some time, 12 weeks in this particular case, to help them to build a new strategy to pivot into a direction that they were looking to enter into. And due to the nature of the engagement, asked to hand off the execution piece to the company because the company has to take accountability for their own strategies. And but perhaps not having the right people in place, the right attitude in place to be able to execute on their strategy. And so at some point we have to come back and feel like we're starting all over. So this is why having the right people in place is such a critical piece of getting your strategy implemented. When I first started work, which was 25 years ago, I'm a trained qualified U.S. actuary, which, if you've heard of that, is a very technical area, mathematically and statistically driven. And but I was a consultant, so sort of building, that technical side with the people side. So it wasn't the, let's say, from outside, the easiest of jobs and roles. But yet I had a colleague who used to say a trained monkey could do our job. And it's a phrase that stuck with me, and he would repeat it quite often. Maybe today he would say that trained monkey is indeed generative AI. But the point he was trying to make is that it's not the skill set that will move us forward in our careers, in our organizations, or as a company. But it's really the attitude and aptitude that we bring to that job, and that culture of excellence, of accountability, of ownership that helps us to execute on our strategy. And Zig Ziglar, who's another famous guy, famously said, "Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your attitude, your altitude." Excuse me. Let me say that again. Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. So that's basically saying that skill set is one thing and is assumed to be there, but even if it's not, it can be learned. But attitude is a much more difficult thing. So when you're looking to build your teams, I'm always one who will hire for attitude with the assurance that I'm sure that I'll be able to train that person up on the skill set, on the aptitude piece. So moving on to the next one, again around people, and now we're talking about leadership. So we're talking about maybe some of us here today. And so I guess what I want us to start thinking about is, what kind of leader do you consider yourself? There are many sort of quizzes and assessments and different types of leadership skills out there. But at the end, and there's different ways to lead. So there's not only one way to lead, and that's very important. So for example, for me, I find myself very much focusing on more the coaching, the servant leadership side, which probably comes from where I am in my sibling hierarchy, being the oldest of 5 children, the fact that I'm a mom, maybe even the fact that I'm a woman. But that's the sort of leadership style that has suited me the most. But it doesn't mean that that's the best way to lead. And it doesn't mean that I can't bring in other leadership styles, much more authoritative, etc., as needed. And so, but leadership, yes, it starts at the top. But one thing we need to remember is that great leaders make other leaders. So great leaders create more leaders. We don't want to just have one leader at the top and then everything lies on that leader's shoulders. And so they're not able to sleep at night, because if they try to take a break, the whole company will fall apart. That's not how we build sustainable businesses. That's not how we build scalable businesses. So it's very important to develop managers into leaders. Management is also needed, and leadership is also needed. So how do we cascade the leadership capabilities, not just from your level, which also needs to be developed on a continuous basis, but also spread that throughout the organization. So that's where we talk about coaching, continuous learning, etc. So again, let's just pause again. We're going through a lot of information. We're about halfway through the session. Uh, Yet to see some key takeaways. What is resonating with you? Is it the strategy piece? Is it the people piece? Is it the leadership piece? What questions do you have, or what do you even want to just share with others based on your experiences? And if you disagree, I'm always happy to hear that as well. All right, so let's move to the pillar number 4, which is governance, which, okay, usually when this topic comes up, people start falling asleep and thinking, we don't need to talk about governance. Such a boring topic. Let the lawyers handle it, and we'll worry about running the business, the real business, so to say. So, I'd love to hear whether or who's heard of Enron, any of these companies, Enron, Arthur Anderson, or maybe if we come into more recently, WeWork, or even my own former employer, Allianz. So who's heard of any of those 4 companies? Uh, Thumbs up or drop a comment in the comment box. So Enron, US company, 2001, they were convicted of massive, massive, massive accounting fraud. This was near the beginning of my career, and I still remember it as if it was yesterday because it made such a major splash in the news at that time. And such a major splash that actually took down an entire global consulting company, which was Arthur Anderson. And you've never heard of Arthur Anderson? Very good reason, because they were disintegrated after that incident. So it wasn't even them who did the accounting fraud. It was one of their clients, but the impact of that accounting fraud not just took down not just the company itself, but even their advisors. So that's what governance can do, right? WeWork. Uh, I hear some comments. I've definitely heard of Allianz. Yes, we'll get to that one. So WeWork is also a U.S. company. So people think that corruption and fraud and lack of governance only happens in Africa. You'll see the most major corruption scandals coming out of the West. And so WeWork, another one, questionable leadership. Let's say it like that, delicately, filed for bankruptcy just a couple years ago after bringing in billions and billions of investment from very, very capable investors. Allianz, like I said, my previous employers, German company, we think, oh, the Germans, very, very transparent. They don't do anything wrong. Well, Allianz in 2022, which was only a few years ago, had to pay more than 6 billion US for a criminal securities, multi-year criminal securities fraud. So I hope this is helping you to understand that even very huge major companies have to deal with lack of governance and the impact of lack of governance standards on a daily basis. And it can take down an entire company and even the ecosystem around that company. So something we need to think about right from the beginning. And I love the clients who come to us who already, even at their small stage, beginning stage, want to make sure that they have the right governance standards and principles in place, that they have a board in place, whether it's an advisory board or a governance board. And in a future session, we can talk about the difference between those two, making sure that they have ethical leaders in the right places within the companies, and having those proper processes be clear. So we see a question, or if we see the question, how can this framework be embedded into the small business ecosystem? Or is it better suited to businesses designed for scale, local, and globally minded alike? So the short answer is no, it's not just for businesses who want to scale. I believe that this is something that should be embedded into all businesses. So whether you're a mom and pop shop, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're small business owners. So not looking to 10x anything, but really just to bring in your daily bread every day, having a strategy, having the right people, putting together the right leadership, definitely having ethical and clear and transparent processes. And then we'll get to that last piece around uh, expanding your impact. All of those are important in terms of building a sustainable business. A sustainable business doesn't mean it needs to be huge. It doesn't mean that you're looking to scale globally. It doesn't mean that you're looking to conquer the world, but it does mean that you want that business to last, at least for your lifetime. All right, so then the last piece is around expanding your impact uh, via growth capital. And so when people think of capital, they most typically just think of financial capital. So bringing in external investors, having an angel investor come in, or venture capitalist, or PC firm, or make an IPO, etc. But what we forget is that there's also social capital. So I'd be interested to hear, how many strategic partnerships did you sign with for your business, either this year or last year? And you could drop that again in the comment box. Those will pop up. And the reason I ask this is because we forget that there are others who are doing something either adjacent to what we are doing or even similar to what we are doing. And collaboration, it's a big continent. Our problems are not small. And so why are we trying to solve these on our own? And so I firmly believe, even when I was on the corporate side, that collaboration, whether it's competitive or not, but collaboration is how we're actually going to be able to scale and be able to sustain our businesses, particularly when we're trying to move to the global stage. So I'm not seeing, at least not yet, whether any of us have signed any strategic partnerships this or last year. But while you're thinking about that, also interested to hear more about what other questions you have, what has resonated with you, or what is resonating with you, what do you disagree with, or what other experiences have you had as you've gone and built your businesses. So I see social capital is a powerful kind of capital. Yes, definitely agree, and it's so easily overlooked. Many times people will say your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth, or whichever direction you want to go to. And so we think of it for ourselves when we're building our own personal brands, etc., when we're going through our career, when we're trying to move up in the world. But we sometimes forget, or easily forget, that also applies to our businesses. Okay. So let me just move to the next slide, where we've gone through SCALE, and we'll do a recap. But I had just mentioned to you that we've also gone through a similar process and continue to go through a similar process even here at Zer Consulting Africa. And this is the PVTV, we call it. So our purpose, our vision, our tenets, and our values that we've built for ourselves within our company. And it all comes around trust, all comes around excellence, around collaboration, and around entrepreneurship. So if you look at our purpose, which is about African excellence, and really pushing and driving and supporting that idea of African excellence, which has been interpreted in the US, for example, as Black excellence. Black Americans are part of the African diaspora, so I would widen it still to African excellence. And then looking at our vision, which again is around trust and being a trusted partner. So that's trust and that's partnership, and again going to collaboration. Then looking at our mission, we call it our tenets, which again is looking at collaboration, which is looking at network, which is looking at melding the global and the local experiences into a term that you might have heard called global, and which we talk about as well. So that's really And so just adding to the conversation, collaboration is how we're going to scale, particularly on a global level. Yes, thank you for dropping that feedback, 100%. So this is what we've built as Zer Consultant Africa, our purpose, our vision, our tenets, and our values. And this coming out of a strategic review that we did for ourselves. So even strategy consultants can analyze themselves as well. And this was the result of that review. So as we start to close and for the presentation piece, but then open it up for questions, just a reminder that we've talked about scale as if it's a straight line, but you see here that it's a journey, right? So you don't do your strategy once and then never have to think about it for the next 100 years. You have to think about it over and over again. And as the world becomes faster, maybe you have to think about it on a quarterly basis and do a check-in to make sure that you're still on the right path and that your vision still makes sense. And people come, people go. So that's something that you also have to continually think about is what kind of culture that am I building? What kind of people do I want to bring in? Are the right people staying? Are they staying for the right reasons? When we're looking at accelerating our leadership, continuous development. I, after 25 years, do not consider myself the best leader in the world. I'm always still looking out to learn from what others have gone through, whether it's reading great leadership books, whether it's listening to interesting podcasts, whether it's being mentored. So I don't just mentor others, but I also enjoy being mentored by people who are ahead of me in different ways. And then, of course, governance. Governance never ends because we are human beings and human beings mess up. So continuing to put those governance standards in place and checking those governance standards um, is very important. And of course, that impact and expanding that impact again, not just from the financial angle, but also from our social angle. So continuing to build our network, continuing to reach out to others, continuing to collaborate, continuing to build those strategic partnerships. So hopefully, as I've been going through that, you've also taken the opportunity to scan the QR code, which for those of you who have not yet filled out the Scale Your Business scorecard, this gives you an opportunity. We have the link also on the screen here so that you can go through the 25. It's just 25 questions, yes, no. Immediately gives you a report on your own business, on your own situation, so that you can understand within those 5 pillars where are you. Again, it's a journey, not a destination, and there's always areas where we can improve. And if you want to deep dive even further beyond what we've done today, as I mentioned, we have a book that's out there on Amazon, #1 bestseller, with each chapter will dive into one of those particular areas, in addition to other case studies, in addition to other tools, in addition to just sharing the experiences that we ourselves have had as Africans in this world. So again, I just want to pause for a moment and see what questions we have. This is your time for feedback. I'm happy to answer questions about your particular situation, about your particular business. Just drop them now, and so we'll take about. I think I'm doing pretty well. We'll take about the next 5+ minutes to just have this discussion. In the meantime, again, encourage you to scan the QR code and to already get your scores. And maybe you have questions about those scores as you're listening to other people's questions. So I'm just looking to my team to help me out, whether we have any questions, whether in LinkedIn or on YouTube. as I myself am unable to see your questions, unfortunately. So some people believe if they don't receive any questions that they've done a perfect job. I believe the opposite. So I'm hoping this doesn't mean that I've just been talking to myself and or everything is very unclear. What does the standard governance framework look like for a small business? Oh, okay. That could be an entire another session, and I'm sure we'll have another session on governance and what should they be looking to have covered. So I would say some of the first things that one should have as a small business is it sounds like a no-brainer, but you'd be amazed about how many small businesses are not registered. So for me, that's just the first step is, have you actually registered your business? I know in today's age of social media and influencers and making money from the internet, doing various things, sometimes that step is sort of overlooked, as opposed to when there were sort of real businesses where you have a restaurant or um, uh, you're a mechanic or a plumber or whatever, and so people understood that they need to be registered, and so sometimes we forget about that piece, or we think that, oh, if you register, then the tax guys are going to come after us, which, well, there are two things you can avoid: taxes and death. So I can't say that we can avoid that, but there's many other benefits to being registered as a small businesses that should clearly outweigh the drawbacks. So even in terms of raising or bringing in capital into your business, whether it's via grants, whether it is via just your surroundings, or even if it's definitely if it's external capital, they will expect the business to be registered. So I would say as a small business, that's the first thing. And then the second thing for me is and what I did is to make sure I had legal counsel, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And what I mean by that is that there's so many laws out there. There's so many things that you need to be aware of, and I don't have time to be a lawyer at the same time that I'm trying to run my business. So the first thing I did was to get registered, and the second thing I did was to bring on legal counsel, even though it costs money, and maybe you're not even bringing revenue, but at least I could, just be comfortable at night that all the change in laws would be covered by my lawyers, and if anything would change, they would walk me through it. So for me, that's number one, and number two, make sure you're registered as a small business, and make sure that you have legal counsel, whether it's paid or maybe you have a buddy who's is able to help you out pro bono. And there are also organizations that will assist pro bono as well. Great question. I'm sure we'll have a future session purely on governance, because there's a lot of topics that we could go through on that. Other questions or comments? Also happy to hear comments as well, or see comments, read comments as well. And again, if you haven't read the book, or if you haven't acquired the book, bought the book, we're happy to send you a complimentary PDF. This is not a sales pitch to go on Amazon and spend $20. We're happy to send you a free PDF, so that you're able, because for us, what's important is that you acquire the information and that's in the book, and understand the mindset around Afro-optimism, so that we can together build success on the African continent. And if you're not able to get the scorecard, well, I see the link on the screen as well. So if your QR code is not working, scanner's not working, or you're on one device, then you should just click on the link, or we can send the link to you afterwards. Lastly, we'd love to to invite you to Zer Nation. As you mentioned, absolutely, legal counsel is key. I won't say that that's from a lawyer, but it is. So a little biased, but I think I do agree with her anyway. So thank you for that comment. Great. So if we go to this last slide, thank you. So let's stay in touch as we close out the session. This has been our inaugural session. Thank you everyone who was able to join us today. We will have this on a bi-weekly basis every other Wednesday. We'll sort of run through similar material, but depending on the responses from the participants and what we want to focus on, where do we want to deep dive, then we might, instead of doing deep dive on strategy, you might deep dive on people or leadership or governance or indeed impact. So thank you, Philip. Session has been very clear and impactful. Thanks for your generosity. Yeah, this is we can only move forward together. So stronger together, as they say, and this is our way to make the ecosystem stronger, so that we can indeed build a stronger Africa for our children. So reach out on our website. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We have a community called Zer Nation. I'm very happy if you drop Zer Nation in your chat. We'll reach out to you to invite you to Zer Nation. And again, if you want a PDF of the book, drop the term PDF. We'll get it out to you. The link to the scorecard continues to be dropped in the comments. So hopefully you go out and do that. And so that would be, for me, your next step. If you remember the agenda, we say, okay, what next? Is that if you haven't already taken the scorecard, please, it's free. It takes 3 minutes of your time. So maybe it's not completely free, but I think we can spend 3 minutes of our time to make our businesses better. So go out there, assess your business, find out where your gaps are, and then figure out a way to close those gaps. And I'm looking forward to seeing how each of your businesses continue to succeed and excel in the future. So with that, thank you for joining us. It has been our pleasure at Zer Consulting Africa, and we hope to see you in a couple weeks. Thank you very much.